This has been a devastating day to be a Spurs fan, as we just found out that Victor Wembanyama will be sidelined for the remainder of the season with a deep vein thrombosis blood clot in his right shoulder. And this hit the news pretty surprisingly, as we know, of course, no one knew about it. And then coming off of the All-Star weekend, him playing, everything looked fine, but I guess they discovered it when he got back into San Antonio. What a bummer way to end a pretty invigorating season, followed by some tragic news. It's just unfortunate that this happened, especially right after the All-Star break when the Spurs should be making a push to make the playoffs after the De'Aaron Fox trade. The team looking like it's getting more chemistry as the games go on. I know they didn't really do well so far on this rodeo road trip, but it was interesting to see how this team would look down the stretch as Castle gets better, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. De'Aaron Fox getting more accustomed to the culture and system of the Spurs. It's just been a pretty rough year, all things considered. They're not in the playoffs. Pop has been sidelined since October with a stroke, I believe. It's been an up and down season. And for it to, for the most part, end this way is just a bummer. But hopefully he gets better by next season. Hopefully this isn't a career-threatening injury as it was for Bosch. And they said that this isn't the same kind of injury as it was for Bosch, which is a really good sign because it was pretty depressing to see him go out that way. I know Brandon Ingram also had an injury similar to this, and it seemed like it was just a one-time occurrence. So hopefully this is more like him as opposed to it being like Chris Bosh. And everyone seems to be in good spirits about it. Everyone seems to be optimistic about his injury. All we can do is just wait and hope that Wembanyama makes a full recovery and we can get moving as the season goes on, as the next season goes on. And just horrible news altogether. But what do the Spurs do now with the rest of the season after the All-Star break? Because in my opinion, this is a very interesting team. They haven't been this competitive since 2019, I believe. Not to mention them making a trade for De'Aaron Fox midseason shows that they were really pushing to try to make at least the play-in. And I truly did believe that they had a chance to. I feel like that's completely gone now. But I would like to see what the Spurs can do moving forward without Wemby. It's going to be very tough to watch at times as they trade away Zach Collins, which I'm still happy about. They didn't account for Wemby to miss the rest of the season. They didn't account for Charles Bassey to also be injured and them have no complete backup center or even size for that matter. I believe the tallest person on this team now is Mamu, that's healthy, or Bismack Biyombo. I don't really know how they can seriously make the playoffs with a worse center depth than the Lakers right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're going to have to find somebody else off the street and sign to him because you can't be running Bismack Biyombo. I believe what they're going to do is run Sohan at center. I mean, I don't know what else options they really have. First we get point Sohan, now we get center Sohan. Hopefully he starts playing like Dennis Rodman the way he looks like him. That's the most I can say about that situation when it comes to centers. What the topic I really wanted to get into was this is now, in my opinion, I know De'Aaron Fox just got traded and he's the second star. He's the second option. This is supposed to be Wemby and Fox duo. I truly believe this is now Stephon Castle's team for the rest of the season. And I say that because he has been looking amazing as of lately. And given that this was a weak draft and no one really had any high hopes, they were comparing it to 2013, saying that this is the role players draft. Obviously that's been hyperbolic, but there's always going to be a good player in a draft. Stephon Castle is that good player, along with Jared McCain and, Khalil Ware and whatnot. But Stephon Castle has the potential to be all-star. He has the potential to be a great player, and we have seen him over the season really develop that more and more, upping his points, his shooting percentages, all the way from his first game, his first month to now. Every month he has played, he has gotten better and better and better. And it's going to be weird. I wonder if they run Fox, Chris Paul, and Castle. I know that sounds crazy, but what do you have to lose now? I mean, they're going to throw Keldon Johnson in maybe. I really think that they need to start Castle now and play him as much as they can and just see what he can give you on his own, and also let that potential run a little more loose than it would with Wemby. And I only say that because when you're fighting for a playoff spot and you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Chris Paul, Stephon Castle can't really shine in many ways offensively because he's not getting the ball as much. Even though the Spurs don't really run ISO ball or let someone take over the game like that, he was getting not as many touches because of so many people, so many options for the Spurs to score and how they have the ball movement. And now I think with nothing to lose, the season's tanked. Even if they make the play-in, what are we expecting from this team without Wembanyama? I think this is where we really see who belongs on this team, who maybe is someone they look as a trade asset for someone else. And then, we tank for a great pick. Hopefully the Hawks pick gets better too. The Spurs pick seems like it's going to be a shoe-in for a top 5. At this point, maybe. It's a little hyperbolic, but you never know. And just let Castle play as many minutes as he wants and let him have free reign. I would like to see the duo of Castle and Fox together. I know it may get a little clunky at times as their play style overlaps each other in some aspects. Especially what we've seen in that Hornets game from Castle. He is looking like a stud offensively now. But, he came in this draft as a defensive two-way player kind of. The comparison I had for him was like a Marcus Smart. I feel like his potential has already passed that point of Marcus Smart. Not that he was a bad player, but offensively he was never consistent enough. And the fact that we're seeing Castle have these highlights this early on, these peaks this early on, it really opens the door for what his potential can be. And I think that this is the best opportunity, as the team's only going to get better from here, whether that's through free agent signings, trades, or ultimately the draft, which they've always been a good drafting team. They're filled up on the guard position. I think next year it's going to be a whole different kind of style of offense with more of a chemistry between Fox and Wemby, depending on Chris Paul comes back. You still have Devin Vassell. I think this is his time to shine. And back to the comparison thing, when he was coming in the league, people were comparing him to Anthony Black. There was not really a good one I saw. The Jimmy Butler one kind of fits a little bit, but even at that, they still look a little different in style. In my opinion, he kind of reminds me, and I'm not comparing him to this player, but he kind of reminds me of a rookie Kobe in the way that he has this athleticism, and he doesn't display it as much as Kobe did in a highlight sense, but he's a very athletic player, as we saw in the dunk contest. And in my opinion, I think Stephon Castle is already one of the best finishers in the league. Every time I watch this guy and he goes into the paint, he just has so much control and slowness in a good way to get to the rim with a bunch of pressure on him. And every time I watch him, he's just always doing these very creative layups, these up and unders. He does a fast pivot step and just goes right in. I just feel this guy has what it takes to be a real presence in the paint, a real good driver. He really does remind me of a young Kobe in that aspect, just getting to rim when he wants and finishing when he wants. His shooting, of course, is still a little clunky, but it's better than a lot of players coming out of drafts. It could be worse. It could be Ben Simmons. It could be Markelle Fultz. This guy has already been looking a lot better. He kind of reminds me of what people thought Markelle Fultz was going to be coming out of the draft, if that's a good one. I kind of see that. I just thought of it right now, and I like that a lot. Markelle Fultz coming into the draft kind of is what Stephon Castle was embodying. And it's exciting. That's, when you look at everything, all things considered, with this horrible news, with Greg Popovich's career being a dark cloud over the team, no one really knows what the rest of his career looks like, if he's even going to coach another game again. I really do like Mitch Johnson. I think he's doing a great job. But you can't replace Pop. And I don't know how that happens. This is a fun team with a great young core and a lot of potential. And just with how this might be over for Pop, and I don't even want to put it out there, but, this could be a career-threatening injury for Wemby. It's just a very tough time right now, and I think the Spurs team is going to rally around that in ways. I'm not saying they're going to go on a run, but I think they're going to play with a lot more tenacity and more care in the game, and they're going to put on a show. And I think we're going to see a lot of studs come out from this. I think Stephon Castle will take the next step. I can see Sohan taking a bigger role and, really basking in it and actually taking that next initiative and next step. I think Devin Vassell can get his scoring up again. I think he was taking a backseat to all the other players. I think Chris Paul can rally this team. I'm excited to see what the rest of the season looks like, and hopefully they can show that it's not just a one-man show with Wemby and that there's actual talent on this team. I know everyone compares this, I know everyone says this is one of the worst teams in the NBA. I really don't believe that. I think there's a lot of potential on it. I think there's a lot of promise in it. And it's just been a tough week. The Spurs play tonight against the Suns. Hopefully they can win that game. And the Spurs' future starts in the offseason, because this season is a wash. All they can do is let Stephon Castle loose, let De'Aaron Fox loose. Let's play Sohan at center. Let's see what he can do. I know that sounds insane, but was Point Sohan even that much crazier of a concept? Let's let, if that doesn't work, let's have Mamu run center. I don't know why he doesn't get enough minutes. I think he's really going to have to now. And I think the Spurs organization will see that he is a great offensive player. I understand his defense is bad. I think that he'll also blossom too. I think Mamu has real potential to be a part of this Spurs team moving forward. And let's just hope for the best for Wemby. Let's hope the best for Pop. Let's hope Chris Paul stays another year. You can never take that legacy and his wisdom away from the team. It adds so much to it. Just one season in, you can see the difference that this team has, what they play with. I think that's a big aspect of what Chris Paul can do for them. Let's just see what they got. Let's see what they can do.